So you've decided to buy a house. Here's why connecting with a lender as the very first part of the process is going to save you a lot of time, a lot of heartache, and a lot of stress. Hi, I'm Ashley, and I'm a realtor here in North Texas. I'm here to make real estate just a little bit less scary. So in buying a house, a lot of people think that the first step is to start looking at homes online. In reality, that's completely backwards. What you want to do is you want to connect with a lender. And the reason the lender is the most important part is because looking at homes can set you up for a lot of heartache down the road. Think about it like this. You're laying in bed and you start looking at homes, and you don't really know how much you can afford. And so you're looking at homes that you think you can afford. And you find one that looks almost like you want it to look. And you're like, maybe if I just go up a little bit, I'll just go up 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. And then all of a sudden you're in a totally different price bracket, and you don't even realize in the moment that you're setting yourself up for failure because you can't afford the house that you just fell in love with. So then you pick up the phone and you call an agent. And the agent at that time says, great, let's go see it. You schedule a showing, you walk through the door, it's exactly what you want. And then you connect with the lender and you realize you can't afford it. Well, guess what? Now nothing else that you see will ever measure up to that first house that you looked at. So let's reverse it. Let's connect with the lender first. Let's show the sellers that you're serious, that you've already done the work ahead of time, and let's make sure that you understand exactly what you can afford before you start looking at homes that you love. So one of the first things that your lender is going to do is deliver what's called a pre-qualification or a pre-approval letter. So what is a pre-qualification letter? Well, it's basically the very first step to showing a seller that you have the ability to purchase their home. Now, a pre-qualification letter is very different from a pre-approval letter because the pre-approval letter takes it a step further. The lender's going to verify your credit, your income, your assets, all the things that they need to know to move forward with the process. Here's something to remember though. Neither a pre-qualification or a pre-approval letter is a guarantee of financing. Regardless of the type of letter you've delivered to the seller, you have to go through the underwriting process. So while both a pre-qualification and a pre-approval letter are deemed acceptable in today's industry, I often recommend to my people to go ahead and take the extra steps to get a pre-approval letter. And the reason I recommend this is when we make our offer, we want to stand out as the most qualified buyer possible. And as a listing agent, they want to see that the buyer they select is going to get to the closing table. If they are advising their sellers properly, then those sellers want to accept the offer where the buyers have been through as much of the process as possible, which also means that they can lower their underwriting time, which makes you stand out even further. So if you're a first-time home buyer, you're probably not familiar with what the underwriting period is. And that's the period of time where the lender and the underwriting department go through all of the documents that you submit and determine if you in fact qualify for loan approval. Now, if you've gone through the process as a buyer on the front end to deliver as many of those documents as possible, then you don't have to deliver those during what's called the underwriting period. So that means that your underwriting period can be shorter, which means that your contract is even more aggressive than somebody that hasn't done any of the work on the front end. The reason that matters is the more aggressive the contract is, the shorter the underwriting period is, which means the less opportunities for termination you have as a buyer, which makes your contract stand out to a seller because their goal is to accept the contract that gets to closing. Fewer termination points, more opportunity for closing. The first week to 10 days of any contract are the most stressful times you'll experience. You've got to deliver your earnest money and your option money on time. We've got to schedule inspections. We've got to perform the inspections. We've got to negotiate repairs. If you are also trying to gather your documents for a lender during that time period, you're going to hate your life. So please, please, please do yourself a favor. Gather all the documents, credit, income, assets, all the things that the lender would need to gain the pre-approval on the front end so that when we go under contract, you have the opportunity to focus on what is important in that moment, and the lender has the opportunity to focus on what he already has in front of him. So the next thing for you to do is to start gathering all the documents that you might need. Think of things like bank statements, W-2s, other income sources, tax returns, anything that shows where your money is going to come from. So before we jump into that, I do want to mention not all lenders are created equally. They are going to have different overlays, different fee structures, different personalities even, so please do your research before selecting one. You will be communicating with them as much as you'll be communicating with your agent. Now, let's get back to the documents. The type of documents that you will need are going to depend a lot on the type of loan program that you and your lender identify. The four most common types of loans are going to be your VA loans for veterans, your FHA loans, conventional financing, and then of course cash. Your lender can speak to each of those in more detail. And I know this seems like a lot, and that's because it is. Gathering up all of your financial documents in your life into one form and submitting it online to somebody that you just met yesterday is super scary, and I get that. And this is why when you call an agent, the first thing that we're gonna do is refer you to a lender to get this process started. Because while you're gathering all of those documents and pulling your life together to prove that you have the ability to purchase a house, we as agents are going to be doing our own research over here to make sure that we're checking all the boxes that you and I talked about on the phone. Because we want to make sure that when you come back with that pre-approval letter, that we're ready to hit the ground running and make your process as seamless as possible. Now, just like you need a real estate professional working on your behalf, you also need a lender working on your behalf. So as you're evaluating where your financing source is going to come from, whether that's a bank, a credit union, a mortgage broker, or a local lender, make sure that you select somebody who mirrors your hours. If you and I are going to be looking at houses at nights and weekends, make sure you find a lender who's also working those hours. Because when we write the offer, we want that lender to be able to back us up, call the listing agent and let them know, yes, in fact, this pre-approval letter is current and it is valid, this buyer is qualified, and we're excited to move forward with you. As a listing agent, when I reach out to a lender and they don't answer the phone, it's not a great scenario for that buyer. It's really, really hard to be in a multiple offer situation where the banker or the lender does not answer the phone, because we can't verify that that piece of paper that they provided us is in fact valid. And if we have to wait a day, 2 days, 3 days until that person becomes available, it's not likely that offer is going to get selected. So you've chosen your lender, and now all that's left to do is submit your application. Most lenders have made it pretty easy by giving you access to an online portal where you can upload your documents. So you submit your documents, you fill out the paperwork, and you wait. Good lenders will turn the document around in 24 to 48 hours. Great lenders can do it much faster. As painful as this process may sound, if you can make it through this video, I promise you can make it through the pre-approval process. But if you've made it this far, let me give you one bonus tip. Don't go out and buy anything new. Once that pre-approval letter has been issued, lenders will continue to verify everything all the way up through the closing day. So please, please, please do not add any new purchases that your lender does not pre-approve. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. I'm just here to make real estate a little less scary and a little bit more fun. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does make a difference. See you next time.